To absolutely nobody's surprise, Critical Role decided not to kill the golden goose. They decided, in fact, not to fake the funk on a nasty dunk, and they're sticking with 5E for their season 4. The only thing that shocks me is that people were actually surprised by this. Like, ever since the Twitch leaks, where we got a glimpse into how much money was being made with this, these aren't dumb people. They have the data. They understand how much money they're making. They understand what is driving up numbers to their Twitch stream. And it's like I said before, 5e is just better for streaming stuff. That's all it is. Like, it's just, if there was a better system which would result in easier listing for a podcast or streaming format, then that would be it. And a lot of people don't understand. Like, streaming format, I really think that it's not so much visuals for some of this content. For some people's content, I think it is visuals. For others, I think it really is background noise. I think there's not that huge of a difference when you have a thing that could easily be a podcast and then it's streamed. I think the majority of people are actually not visually watching that. So if you have something that's a podcast format, 5e is just going to be the best tabletop game to play just because it keeps things moving. You can have all of the opinions that you want about whatever tabletop game that you personally like. But at this point, I think even for people who aren't in the know, we have enough of a perspective on the matter to understand, hey, you just need a system that's fast moving and lots of stuff happens and there's lots of roles and, there's lots of opportunities for goofy stuff to happen. And that's what you're going to get with 5e. There's probably other systems that are undiscovered out there that would also be good for this format. But it's tough. I mean, there's really not that many, like, for example, improv comedy podcasts that have been like super successful. I can name like just a couple, and they're relatively niche. And considering how many people are into improv, you would assume there was probably like room for like much more in that space, but there's really not. And so I think it's this weird confluence of things where this just makes sense. And I'm sorry, like Daggerheart, which was probably their other second choice for what they wanted to use for the main, campaign. Uh, it does have mechanics from 4E, and some people like those mechanics. But the fact is that there was just never a 4E podcast that took off and got any kind of like super. No podcast took off using the 4E format because, frankly, unfortunately, it sort of just broke off. You don't even really see that many podcasts who do actual play from like a Warhammer thing. All the Warhammer content that you see from people like Snipe and Whip and all these other Warhammer groups, it's all lore talking. It's all battle reports, which are condensed versions of the actual play of the game. Like, there's not that much content where it's like you're actually sitting down and listening to people play out, for example, a game of Warhammer 40K. That would be not great content. So, in a similar thing, if you have something where you have the 4E mechanics in Daggerheart, which can lead to a more long, drawn out battle, some people might find that fun to play, but the vast majority of people are not going to find that fun to listen to. So, yeah, I don't. From what little I already know, just from being kind of adjacent to the space, just seeing what succeeded, what failed, what's making a ton of money, and what makes no money at all. The idea that they would sacrifice this huge amount of money that's coming in to say, "Oh, we're not going to be doing 5e anymore. We're going to risk it all on Daggerheart." I think they already have the numbers to understand that Daggerheart is going to be niche. There's going to be a loud, vocal amount of people who say they're really into it and love it, who will buy the books. It's going to be profitable, but the vast majority of people are not going to enjoy it to the extent that they enjoy something like 5e. And that's just the truth, unfortunately. But it's not, unfortunately, because, like, yeah, I've heard all these weird conspiracy theories that there's still somehow this relationship between Wizards of the Coast and Critical Role. Boy, I don't see how that's possible. I think, like, considering everything that's happened at Wizards of the Coast, it seems like, boy, that would be a roller coaster to then, after everything that happened, and after, two very important figures from Wizards of the Coast jumped company after their contracts were up. I would find that very tough to swallow, that they would be able to do that. But I mean, Wizards of the Coast has made so many weird, stupid decisions in the past couple of years. And again, I don't know who's in charge of the company now, but whoever's making decisions there just need to realize that there's certain things that they need to do that third party endeavors have been very, very good at. And it kind of, again, I hope there's nobody there who's taking this weird stance that, like, Critical Role made 5e. Because, frankly, I think on a very fundamental level, it's the opposite way. 5e allowed Critical Role to continue to keep on going. It continued to be very popular and profitable and stuff. Because it's just that the format of the mechanics is well suited to a podcast style, long form content media thing. Like, that's all there is to it. And it was so weird to me, the decisions that were made way earlier, where they were working directly with people from Critical Role, allowing them to produce books, even though they knew that they were out there making their own corporation with their own games, with their own books. They were still working, like, pretty closely back just a couple of years ago. And now I guess the question is, was this because you had the two people that now work for the Critical Role Corporation? Is it because they were there, or because back then I thought that was kind of a weird decision, and it wasn't a good idea long term. We'll have to see. I don't have much confidence in Wizards of the Coast pulling anything out that's interesting. But yeah, Critical Role. Again, I just have to say, anybody who saw the Twitch leaks, who understood the amount of money that Critical Role was making, the idea that they would sacrifice that to bet on the success of Daggerheart when they already have the data for that, that's crazy. And I just cannot believe people thought that.